All right, happy Halloween, guys. This was a scary one for the Utah Jazz and a fun one for the San Antonio Spurs as Victor Wembanyama gets the rare 5-by-5 against the Utah Jazz. It looks like Victor Wembanyama in this one is like the third player in NBA history with multiple 5-by-5s. That includes Andre Kirilenko of the Jazz and Hakeem Olajuwon. So, new territory for Victor Wembanyama, who looked incredible in this game tonight. 5-by-5, if you don't know what that is, that's at least five in 5 different categories. So, Victor Wembanyama, we'll just talk about him for the Spurs, and then we'll go on to the Utah Jazz. But Wembanyama ends with 25 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals, 5 blocks. Absolutely incredible. It's just a very unique stat line and obviously just does not happen very often, especially multiple times. And Victor Wembanyama does it tonight against Utah. He's truly remarkable. He seemed to be a little slow and a little tired in this game, but he just, even with him being like 90% or whatever he was, he still was awesome. He was, 13 threes for Wembanyama is interesting. I mean, I wonder if he was a little tired because it seemed like at times he was just putting those up. But man, was he good tonight. Holy smokes. Victor Wembanyama was great. All right, let's talk about the Utah Jazz. Utah is now the only winless team in the NBA. They lose to the San Antonio Spurs and now our bottom 5, and I'm not quite sure when the Utah Jazz are going to get their next win. But if you look right here, Utah is now sole position in the number 1 spot, which is absolutely fantastic. And I honestly could not be any happier with what the Jazz are doing. With this trajectory, Utah is possibly on track to winning a title eventually. Obviously, that's far down the road, but they're already on the right track to doing what it takes to get there. And to get there, you got to get that guy like the Spurs did with Victor Wembanyama, who is a perfect example tonight. They get him at number 1. They would not have gotten him otherwise. And so now the Spurs are on that track to a championship at some point, and the Jazz would like to be there as well. Mr. 9, Victor is just a cut above, literally. He's incredible. He's incredible, guys. Absolutely fantastic. So, let's keep going. So, let's just talk about this one. The news from this one was that Kyle Filipowski was starting because Lauri Markkanen was out with back spasms. We'll see when he comes back. But like we said last show, I don't think Utah is in any sort of rush to bring him back. And they are fine losing games because when you are sitting atop here and Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey are at the top, you want to have the worst record possible. Why? Yeah, it's going to be a 14% chance to get the number 1 pick, better than any other spot, and Tankathon does a good job of showing that. But it gives the Jazz a 52% chance at top 4, which at worst gets them VJ Edgecombe. But what this doesn't really do a good job of portraying is that if Utah is in the number 1 spot, regardless of how their luck stands on lottery night, they have a 100% chance at a top 5 pick. If they fall to 2, it's a 100% shot at a top 6 pick. Why? Because 4 teams are selected, and if you get jumped by 4 teams, which is obviously possible, you still get that top 5 pick. So this is great news for Utah. They are already creating ground between them and other teams. If you look here, you'll see that Detroit, obviously Utah has a 1-game lead on them. Utah has a 2-game lead on Brooklyn, who has looked pretty feisty to start the season. Utah has a 2-game lead on Portland, San Antonio, on all these teams. So Toronto even. Utah is just doing the right thing, and they're doing it better than everyone else, and I wish they'd have done this sooner, but it's okay. They're doing it now, so that's all you can ask. So anyways, Kyle Filipowski gets the start tonight. He goes 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. He had 5 rebounds as well and an assist. He moves the ball really well. He plays tough. He should have got a flagrant foul on that one foul on Stephon Castle, but they didn't call it. He plays with kind of an edge, which is nice to see. So 12 points, 5 rebounds for Filipowski in his debut as a starter. Nice to see. Filipowski brings a lot to the table to be happy about. And so with Lauri Markkanen being out, with Taylor Hendricks being out for the season, it gives him more opportunity, and it gives the Jazz more opportunities to watch some of these guys. And it obviously just, Utah having more youth playing means more losses, which is what the Utah Jazz want. 0-5 to start the season. And I tell you what, in fact, let's just bring this up. And while we're going through this, I'm going to pull up the Utah Jazz schedule, and we're just going to look. Utah does not get a win here anytime soon. So let's put this here. That was tonight. Utah loses to the Spurs, but look at this. So Utah now goes on a road trip. They go to Denver on Saturday. They on Monday will go against the Bulls, who have looked pretty decent. In fact, where are the Bulls on here? The Bulls are 3-2, and they look pretty decent. Thursday they go against the Bucks, who right now sit at number 2. You can bet they are going to want to get that win. And then they go against San Antonio again in San Antonio. I don't know when the Jazz get their next win, to be honest. And I talked about this before the season on my predictions. Like, Utah might not win very many games at all this year. And when you consider that the Jazz schedule is front-loaded with difficulty, Utah is likely going to cut bait with some of these veteran players, possibly like a Colin Sexton. Anyone in the league wants, they are available to be had, and Utah will trade those likely at trade deadline. But Utah, the worst team they play is the Spurs pre-trade deadline. You play San Antonio, but the Knicks are good. San Antonio, look at that. I guess Portland is the worst team they play, but they don't play Portland until December 6th. So Utah is well on their way to getting a great pick. And then these games, I mean, Utah might be interested in losing. Why do they want to win these games? Do you want to win? Why would you want to win? It's not going to do anything for you. So Utah may lose to Portland, may lose to Detroit. They'll probably win one of these 3 at least. Portland, Detroit, Brooklyn, maybe 2. But Utah does not want to win a lot of these games. And then the losing rolls on. So Utah is definitely doing this right. And it's honestly something that Jazz fans should... I know not every fan thinks like I do and is wanting wins and things like that. But do you want to win a championship, or do you want to have feel-good victories that lead you to nothing? What do you want? I want a championship. And the Jazz are now on the road to a championship. Like I said earlier, they are on their way to potentially getting franchise-altering talent that's in these next 2 drafts. And they are those players are absolutely at the top. And even if Utah doesn't get there, they still get a top 5 pick. We still have not even had the college season start this year. So we may see other players jump that we didn't know. Players in this draft that we haven't really gotten to see a full college season. You can just bet that there are going to be a couple players that jump in the draft. It happens every year. Players rise that we didn't see before. Foreign players that maybe we don't know quite as well may have really impressive seasons. The player right now for the Washington Wizards who's really breaking out, and we talked about him before, Bilal Coulibaly is having a breakout season. And he was one of those guys that drafted rapidly in his draft. So this is going well for Utah. Cody Williams had a great shooting night last game. Tonight, the shooting was not there. He goes 0 for 5 from 3, 0 for 6 from the field. 5 rebounds, 2 assists. I love what he does when he's on the floor. The Utah just needs the shooting. Utah right now has the number 30 offense in the NBA and the number 26 defense. And it's the lack of shooting for Utah that's really hurting them. And it's shooting nights like this from Williams. Keontae George had a very bad shooting night again from 3. And so that's where it's leading the Jazz to these losses with the shooting. But that's kind of what you expected with this young Jazz team, because they're playing against other teams' best players. And when you run out young players out there and they're learning the game, it's tough. And no Lauri Markkanen makes things even tougher. So I guess we shouldn't be all that surprised. Walker Kessler, we shouldn't probably be too surprised that he struggled a little bit shooting the ball, because he went up against Victor Wembanyama, who is one of the front runners possibly for Defensive Player of the Year. Wembanyama is absolutely going to be like top 3 Defensive Player of the Year every single season he plays. because he's that impactful. You could see it tonight. And you see it in numbers like this: 6 points for Kessler, who's usually putting in those kind of closer shots, and he only goes 3 for 9. That's the Wembanyama effect. But he did have 11 rebounds. He had 3 block shots. So, I like what we've seen from Kessler. He's showing that he is absolutely still the same player that he showed in his rookie season, and he looks solid. I don't think he's going to be an all-star. I don't think, but I think he can be a starting caliber center in the NBA, and that's nice that the Utah Jazz have that player. Now, I don't know if it's long-term, but you know what? Walker Kessler may be on this Jazz team for a long time. Even if Utah gets lucky with either the Wolves or the Cavs pick, if the Wolves have something terrible happen to one of their starters, or who knows, probably not. We don't root for that. But if it does, then maybe Utah can come out with 2 really nice lottery picks, or possibly even trade up. Who knows? But, Utah may look at some sort of stretch center if that's there, like a Malawach. Malawach might rise in the draft because of his physical gifts. And then, who knows if he starts or not. Jordan Clarkson keeps getting the start, but the shooting wasn't there tonight like it was last game tonight. 1 for 6, 0 for 4 from the field, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Minus 21 for Jordan Clarkson. Not a very impactful game. But it is helping the Jazz get Cooper Flagg, so I guess shout out to Jordan Clarkson. Keontae George, let's talk a little bit about it. You guys all know my love for Keontae George. Terrible shooting night. Again, he is not shooting the ball well from 3 this season. But I will say he is shooting the ball well from 2, at least in this one. 1 for 9 from 3. If you take away the 9 shots, he was, let's see. If you take away the 8 misses from 3, then that makes him 5 for 6 from 2. And he took 5 free throws in this one. So he's actually getting it, you got to dive in through the mud there a little bit to find the diamond. But there is a little bit of a shine there. 5 for 6 from 2 is pretty solid. And Will Hardy made comments last game in this one that Keontae's running the point guard pretty well. And I would have to agree. He has 5 assists in this one. Yes, he had the turnovers, although this is like Wembanyama effect is crazy. That one steal that Wembanyama had on Key was unreal. But Key's got to improve on this aspect, but the offense is actually flowing. Utah got, in this one, 32 three-point shots up. That's good offense in the modern NBA. Now, they're not hitting them, but they're creating them. And Key is setting guys up, and they are scoring. This game they didn't score as much, but he is running the point a lot better. The ball is moving. I kind of want to do a thing on assist opportunities because I wouldn't be surprised if the Jazz, I want to look up the Jazz should have, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. It's a stat that says potential assists. I think it's what it's called. And I don't have time. I don't want to look it up tonight live, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jazz are pretty high there. They just are not hitting shots. Like Cody Williams not hitting shots. Key's not hitting threes. And you could tell in the beginning of this one that the offense was flowing pretty well. I think one thing that's nice about this 3-point shot is it's honestly forcing Keontae George to do other things. And it's cool to see him getting 5 assists and doing that. And he's trying to help the team in other ways. So 5 for 14. Obviously, you want to see this go up. But if you want the Jazz to lose games, then you know what? It's okay. Let him take the threes. And I think at some point this season, Key's going to likely find some sort of groove. You just hope it's not too soon because Utah needs to get Cooper Flagg. Let Key find his groove shooting the 3 when Cooper Flagg is on the team, right? For now, I'm okay with him taking his lumps. And this is what is going to happen. These guys are getting this opportunity to grow, and they're taking these lumps. They are going to appreciate winning so much more down the road. Instead of just coming into a winning situation, kind of like Donovan Mitchell did, these guys get to prove it, and they get to lose these games. They get to feel that pain of the loss, and they will appreciate their development so much more because it came with a team that's believing in them. And honestly, we as fans should just keep believing in them. I know on the playback and the live stream, by the way, make sure you're following SLC Dunk on playback, or if you're following me, you can watch live with me. And if you're a member of the channel, you can talk with me live during the games. It's a lot of fun. But we talked about it, and it's a little reductionist, but it's the truth. This development is really good. What you're looking at with these players is you're just trying to find out which one of the Jazz young talent, and it's why the Taylor Hendricks injury sucks. But what you're trying to do is just find out which of these players will fit along the superstar that the Jazz are trying to bring in. I think Keontae George has potential. We'll see if it happens. But I think he has potential to be a number 3 option on a championship team. I think that's what his kind of ceiling is proving to be. He has all the different talent, like what do you want to call it? Like the different tools in his toolbox to be a 3-level scorer in the NBA and to do a lot of things and get to his spots and take shots. And he's showing that he runs a pick and roll really well. I actually think him running the pick and roll more and more is going to be so good for him long term, because let's say the Jazz get Cooper Flagg and they do need a secondary playmaker. Keontae is showing that he can do that. And him, 11 assists last game, that's 16 assists in 2 games. 8 assists per game would be good for top 10 in the NBA assists per game. That's pretty great, guys. That's awesome stuff. You got to appreciate the good while also recognizing the bad. The bad shooting is undeniable. This has to be better. And if after 3-4 seasons it's still like this, then you've got a problem. But I think this will turn around. You just got to have patience. That's the key this year. No pun intended, right? But he is hitting his 2s. He is running the pick and roll. He does have 5 assists. There's some things there to be happy about. The shooting needs to be better, but it's really the 3-point shooting. We know he can hit it. It's just, can he become consistent? If he does, Utah might win some games we didn't expect. If he doesn't, Utah's going to absolutely be in the running for the number 1 spot come lottery night. Colin Sexton, it was nice to see him do better tonight. He went 0 for 7 last game in the 6th-man role. Tonight, Colin Sexton goes 5 for 11. He looked better. 16 points. He was a -1 in the Jazz big loss, so interesting stuff there. So Colin Sexton showing that off the bench he can be an absolute weapon. And in some ways, this may be just a showcase for him. I'm sure Colin Sexton isn't probably excited about the direction of Utah right now, but he's getting paid handsomely for it. So who knows? He has a very tradable contract. So if a team out there like the Lakers, who might be looking for more assets, maybe the Bucks. I don't know if the Bucks have anything they could even trade Utah, but if we have heard rumors in the past of the Bucks and Colin Sexton being kind of interested. We'll see. There may be a team out there that's willing to throw Utah a nice first-round pick, and Utah could use those in this draft or the next one as potential trade chips to possibly move up. I can't remember. I forgot. And he's one of my favorite follows on Twitter. He's a writer for, I believe, Deseret News. Dang it. I'll have to remember your name, my friend, but I can't remember. But anyways, he mentioned on Twitter tonight that Utah might use their 2 picks, like the Wolves pick and the Cavs pick, to potentially move up in the draft. Kind of reminds me of Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. What if there's a guy out there, like what if Ace Bailey goes out there and just absolutely balls out and Dylan Harper looks incredible? If the Jazz are at like 4 and want to get Cooper Flagg, could they somehow trade a lot to move from like 4 to 3, kind of like they did when they traded up for Darren Williams and get Cooper Flagg? I don't know. Possibly. You never know. Although if Utah is sitting at 4, they might be happy with VJ Edgecombe because the villain looks nice and he looks like Jaylen Brown to me, and that certainly would be a great piece to have as the Jazz go into the next season. VJ Edgecombe looks very and it's pretty early. We'll see what he kind of looks like with Baylor. By the way, I'm going to be courtside when Baylor comes to play the University of Utah, so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch VJ Edgecombe. But he looks like Jaylen Brown so far to me. Super athletic if he can figure out the 3-point shot, but he might be a real prize. And so that's why Utah being at the number 1 spot, really nice to see. You just look at who's sitting atop there. Utah really wants to get that. So Drew Eubanks, I tell you what, there was 2 things, and I hope Victor Wembanyama doesn't do this, but he flopped big time 2 times with Drew Eubanks. Don't become a flopper, Wembanyama. We don't need more big floppers. And it doesn't look great when you're 7'6" or whatever Wembanyama is. When Rudy Gobert flops, it doesn't look good because he's so big and long. It just looks awkward. Don't do it, Wembanyama. But Drew Eubanks plays tough and apparently just absolutely annihilated Wembanyama a couple times. I say that in jest. But anyways, I like Drew Eubanks and I like having him on the team. He just brings solidarity. And you just need a guy like this on your team. And it's nice to have Drew Eubanks because Utah's already dealing with depth issues. I mean, Jordan Clarkson left this one early because of injury. I mean, we may be without Jordan Clarkson. Honestly, Utah cannot get Isaiah Collier back soon enough, but it may look like the Jazz bring along guys like Jason Preston. Johnny Juzang may start getting more minutes. In fact, he got 13 tonight. So we'll see, although he was a minus 15. That's kind of interesting. But anyways, John Collins probably had his best game of the season tonight. John Collins goes 6 for 13 from the field, 14 points, 11 rebounds. Nice night for Collins. He only took 1 3, but you know what? If he's not hitting them, I'm glad he's not taking them. 3 assists as well. Collins is just quietly just kind of playing pretty solid for Utah. I don't know if any team out there is willing to take on his contract. It's $26 million this year, and next year as a player option, you can bet he's taking it. 26. In fact, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to set just like a thing here just for fun, just to try. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, I'm looking at this new live chat thing. We may do that at some point. But anyways, John Collins is improving in some ways with Utah. He's showing some playmaking chops. I think Utah uses him as a center, and there's just some limitations there with John Collins at like 6'8", 6'9", whatever he is. He's just not a very good rim protector. He's just not. So there's some limitations there with him defensively, and he's not very good laterally. But offensively, he's pretty solid, and he does some nice things. And he does rebound the ball well. Look at that. 11 rebounds for Collins. Very nice to see. Him and Walker Kessler both come away with 11 rebounds. Collins does it in 27 minutes. Kessler does it in 27 minutes. Look at that. Equal minutes. Interesting. But anyways, Collins, he's been fun to watch. Yes, he has some limitations. Yes, he is a flawed player, but he had a monster dunk in this one. He's just a fun player. He's my daughter's favorite player as well. So rooting on John Collins. He's fun. Seems like a great locker room guy. Happy to have him on the Jazz. And he's $26 million. Probably not likely to get moved because that's such a big number, but you never know. You know, maybe there's another team out there that really thinks, hey, John Collins might be a nice fit. And he might be more likely traded next year just because it's an expiring contract at that point. And so maybe there's a team out there that wants to give Utah a bad contract, and Utah can, you know, take a bad contract, get a good pick, you know. I have to say, one of the players that's been really impressing me the last few nights is Bryce Sensabaugh. Sensabaugh had a nice night tonight. Look at this, 2 for 3 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. Oh, my brain. I've been listening to too much music. I've got that ringing in my ears. I'm going crazy slowly. But Utah the other night look at this, against Sacramento, look what Bryce Sensabaugh does. So obviously it was a loss, but look at Sensabaugh. 4 for 8 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. He is quietly having a very nice offensive output, and he's doing some nice things. And he only had 1 turnover in this one. So let's go back to this one. So Sensabaugh has, 2 turnovers. The turnovers aren't too bad, and he only plays in 14 minutes, so the turnovers have to get better, and that's a thing that young players do. And one of the things we saw last season that he struggled with a little bit was his handle, where the Jazz had him handling the ball, and he turned it over a lot. He's playing off the ball more this year, and he's knocking down shots, and he's doing a few nice things. In this one, he has 3 rebounds and 1 assist, so I like what I'm seeing from Sensabaugh. If you watch this game, you'll notice that he does some nice things. He played well. It's just 14 minutes, but he may get more minutes on this road trip. Holy smokes, this road trip might be brutal for Utah in terms of winning, but in another way, incredible and makes me very happy. I tell you what, and Patty Mills played 60 minutes. He played nice tonight. He had that little stretch where he put the Jazz up 12 at one point. He hit like 3 threes in a row. It was pretty fun, but that was probably the highlight of the night, I guess. I don't know. Johnny Juzang did not play very well. He was a minus 15. All right, let's talk about one thing, though, that I was thinking. This is the first time the Jazz have done this. And I I had hoped for this. I wanted this. I predicted this. I wrote 3,000 words on SLC Dunk in like March earlier this year saying this is what the Jazz are going to do. This is the plan. They're going to tank for Cooper Flagg with Lauri Markkanen on the team. It was very clear that's what they were doing based off of literally every single thing they did. And I feel a little bit of fish out of water, but we got to be so grateful. Like, I see fans online saying things are bad, Ryan Smith this, blah, blah, blah. When you say that, have you guys seen Inglourious Bastards? One of my favorite movies. It's so great. But the scene, and it's a meme now, and it's one of my favorite memes because I love the movie, and it's like an incredible meme. But where it's like, you know that scene in Inglourious Bastards, and it's like a terrible scene, but it's also beautiful. It's like tanking in the NBA. It's I hate it, but I love it. Did you guys ever do P90X? If you know that reference, then you're incredible. I hate it, but I love it. But that scene where because if you don't know the storyline of Inglourious Bastards, it's a historical fiction where a group of Jews go on secret missions to kill Nazis, because it's Brad Pitt and he's like, we're going to kill some Nazis. And it's incredible. It's like, but anyways, there's a scene that's really sad and terrible. And sorry, spoiler alert, but they're in this basement bar with a bunch of these Nazis, and they speak German, and there's a moment where one of them is speaking German and he gives off a tell, and you can tell that the Nazis realize, oh, these aren't actually Nazi soldiers, these are undercover guys, and basically everyone dies in the room, including the good guys. So it's terrible. That's the tell to me. When someone says something like, oh, Ryan Smith is ruining this. Oh, the Jazz are doing terrible. No, that's the tell. That's me looking at you and going like, you don't get it. You're not getting it. What the Jazz are doing is actually an incredible mission. And just like in Inglourious Bastards, in the end, all this losing and ugliness and terribleness that's going on leads to a victory in the end. Because what we're looking at is a battle within a war, right? We're giving lots of TV references, but if you're an Office fan, one of my favorite lines from The Office is when Andy is competing with Dwight. Do you remember that? And they're trying to compete for being, I guess, Michael's favorite. And there's like this one line where Andy's like, you may have won this battle, but I will win the next battle. And that's like the short-sighted thinking for people who look at these things like, oh, the Jazz are terrible. Oh, Ryan Smith is doing so bad. No, Ryan Smith is incredible, and we should be thanking Ryan Smith for doing this, because this is putting the Jazz on a championship trajectory. This is looking back at the Jazz history of team building, it certainly looks pretty dumb. Like, it looks pretty stupid and pretty dumb. Because what could have happened when the Jazz knew they had Rudy Gobert, when they knew they had Donovan Mitchell, they lost Gordon Hayward. When they lost Gordon Hayward, they should have known what they should have done. They should have done what the Utah Jazz are doing now. Instead, they went and tried to add all that they could. And yes, they won a playoff series, but they never had a championship trajectory. They just didn't. Sorry, guys. Sorry. As much as people want to say, oh, they coulda, woulda, shoulda, sorry, they were never going to win the title. They were too flawed. They just were. They were fun. They were a really fun watch, but they were flawed. And we saw it in the playoffs time after time when teams shot the Jazz out of the game. Utah just didn't have the capability to defend. They didn't have the talent, or at least the necessary talent. But if Utah, with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, had tanked, guess who was open that next season? Luka Doncic was there. And guess what? The Mavericks in that draft, if you'll remember, they got him at number 3, but they were 5 in that draft. And they were able to trade up to number 3, and the Atlanta Hawks traded back, taking Trae Young. So Utah could have traded up and gotten Luka Doncic in that draft. It could have happened. And then you would have had, then that's another, Marvel on Disney Plus has their What If series. That's the biggest what if ever. Utah could have just tanked that season, could have gotten Luka Doncic. And I bet you right now, a team of Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell, and Rudy Gobert, probably pretty good. And Utah would have taken Luka Doncic. They would have. Absolutely. Are you cereal? Are you for cereal? Are you Reese's Puff cereal right now? It could have happened. So anyways, looking back at the history of the Jazz and their team building, especially pre-Dennis Lindsey, so stupid, so dumb, so dumb. What did they gain? What did they gain? Do you remember being with me back in the day where our biggest hopes were Gordon Hayward and Alec Burks? That was our greatest hope. And Enes Kanter? Are you cereal? That was what we hoped for. Depression, sadness, despair. Sadness and despair is all of it. That's all I've seen in all these days. But not now. Not now. I'm doing this in a space suit. Doesn't help with the credibility. But guess what? They're doing it now. And it's a lesson in life for all of you out there. All of you. It's never too late to change. It's never too late. It's never too late to say, I can do the right thing now. Now we can do the right thing. We can all be like Darth Vader, having made poor choice after misguided choice. We're all like Darth Vader. We made dead dumb choices that led to us falling on a rock and having our legs lobbed off and getting abused by Palpatine and misguided for years and years and years, thinking that you were doing the right thing, only to realize at the last moment, you can change. You can change. We can all be Darth Vader and make the right choice in the end. And that's what the Utah Jazz are doing now. They're making the right choice. They're doing the right thing. It's what's going on right now. Utah is now in the inside track to Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper. Go watch the highlights. We haven't even seen the college season yet, but I can promise you there are guys there that might be incredible. Igor Demon on BYU looks like he certainly could be really nice. We haven't even seen VJ Edgecombe and what he can do. The villain might be certainly something incredible to see. We haven't seen plenty of Kamen Malawach, but in his one exhibition, we saw the signs. We saw the signs. We're on Malawach, like KG10 to TH5 said. So we're on that track. We're on that track. And guess what? The Jazz are certainly very bad right now. They might be on the track to be AJ DeBonsa and Cam Boozer next season. And if AJ DeBonsa is in BYU, then all of us get front row seats. Could you imagine if Utah, this is a alternate reality. We're talking about crazy realities tonight. That's what we're talking about tonight. But Utah might be looking at a world where they get someone like Dylan Harper, Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, and then you go and get Cam Boozer or AJ DeBonsa the next year. That is championship trajectory. That is where you go and you win yourself a NBA championship. And not just one. If things fall right for Utah like they're going right now, we're talking dynasty, baby. Can't spell dynasty with DeBonsa. Don't check the spelling, but that's what I've been told, right? DeBonsa rhymes with dynasty. Cooper Flagg rhymes with banners. It's just another name for a banner is a flag. Okay? Okay? It's time to be rejoiceful for Jazz fans, doing the right thing. You can't have one leg in Babylon and one leg in a championship trajectory. The Jazz have finally stepped onto the right path. It's right there. It's happening now. It's the right move. Doing the right thing. 100% correct. All right, guys, that's all I got tonight. Like and subscribe to the channel. Let's do our nightly mock draft. Utah right now, their average, I want to see we'll look at it differently, but last show, the Jazz ended up with the number 2 overall pick, and that was with tied for first ranked. So now Utah finds themselves, let's see, I think I already have it up. Let's start the music, baby. So now Utah finds themselves in sole number 1 position, meaning that even if they are jumped 4 times, they still ensure themselves the number 5 pick. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nolan Traore kind of drops, although the assist numbers are incredible. He looks like a fantastic point guard. But I would take VJ Edgecombe over Traore. I just would, right now at least. Hugo Gonzalez, you never know. His defense is game-changing, but he may drop. And we're seeing other guys rise. I'm surprised Jaleel Bethia is at 12 because a lot of people, 5 months ago had him top 5 out of high school. He is an absolute flamethrower shooting the ball. We'll see. Anyways, Common Watch, look at that at 11. Why don't take him at 5 if you want him? Anyways, Utah will have so many choices this draft and lottery. So let's see what happens if the lottery was today. Utah is in the number 1 spot. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. What happens? Boom! Anyway, Spurs jump 9 spots and they pair Cooper Flag with Victor Wembanyama. I truly hope that doesn't happen. That's crazy. But guess what? Utah wins as well. They come out with Ace Bailey at the number 2. Phenomenal. Phenomenal for Utah. You already have that's number 2 nights in a row. Utah gets their choice of either Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey. That's 2 nights in a row at the number 2 spot. Don't tell me that Utah can't get lucky in the lottery, baby. Don't tell me. Don't you say a word to me. Although if you'd like to say a word to me, join the channel and be a part of the membership. You can be a part of the show. All right, I'm so excited about that. Number 2, and then Brooklyn jumps to 3, gets Dylan Harper. So far, the prize of the draft goes to these 3 teams. Super happy that Utah is there, baby. Absolutely. All right, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars. You guys are making it happen. I absolutely appreciate the All-Stars being a part of this show and supporting the channel. Some of you for a long time. Shout out to Baby Elliot Madsen, Dirty Jazz Car Wash Channel. See ya, Alexa later. Christian House Money to Haas, The Outlaw, Jesse James Nelson, Jordan the Goat Besserell, Austin our Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, and Patrick Akubo, the Connoisseur. You guys are making an absolute difference. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you to everyone who's watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next time. Things are going well in Jazzland, baby. Get ready. Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey to Utah. You can mark it down. Talk to you next time.